Well, the Western media was full of conspiracy theories this last weekend. Mainstream media had nothing but certainty that Vladimir Putin was behind the assassination of Boris Nemtsov. This is an article from New American. Putin critic Nemtsov murdered. Now, what most people will read in that is that Putin murdered his critic. And that's the way it's been portrayed in the mainstream media. Now, the New American reports that they believe 100,000 people marched the day following that. There was also a demonstration that had been scheduled prior to the assassination of Boris. Many sources will say that it was tens of thousands. We don't know the exact number, but it looks like it was between 30,000 and 100,000. This is someone who is a dissident to Putin, but pretty much forgotten over the period of history. Someone who was highly placed in the Yeltsin regime, but he was not chosen to succeed Yeltsin. Instead, Yeltsin was succeeded by Vladimir Putin. Now, the New American believes that it was Vladimir Putin. They say that within minutes, Putin claimed that the murder was likely arranged by Nemtsov's supporters as a false flag to damage his reputation, to spark public dissension among Putin's policies in Ukraine and Russia's rapidly deteriorating economy. However, Mikhail Gorbachev and also people in America like Paul Craig Roberts see it very differently. In an interview with King World, Paul Craig Roberts and others in the West believe that the CIA may have assassinated Boris Nemtsov. He says Boris Nemtsov, a Russian dissident politician, highly critical of Vladimir Putin, often sounded like an agent of Washington. If Nemtsov wasn't assassinated by the CIA in order to blame Putin, most likely, he said, Nemtsov was killed by Russian nationalists who saw him as Washington's agent. Because I can tell you one thing, that is that Putin is much too smart to play into Washington's hands this way. Moreover, Nemtsov, although a loudmouth, had no impact on Putin's 85% approval rating. There were suspicions, but they were dismissed simply as conspiracy theories. So lone killers really only operate in the West. If it's something that happens elsewhere, people acknowledge that there was more than one person involved. So everybody's a conspiracy theorist. Vladimir Putin says it was a CIA conspiracy. And of course, all of the Western media is united in saying that it was a Putin conspiracy. We know they both kill people. We know they're both rival gangs, just like the Tattaglias or the Corleones, or Don Marino or Don Falcone, if you want to look at fiction. The CIA and the KGB, Vladimir Putin or Obama, it really doesn't matter. They're all mafia hitmen. They've all killed a large number of people. As the New American points out, the number of people that we know that Vladimir Putin has killed. We know that Obama has assassinated thousands with drones, many of them innocent people. So would he kill a political enemy? Would the people who support him kill somebody who was once their ally in order to further their cause against Vladimir Putin? It's a very dangerous game. But I think we need to take a look back, step back at this and look at it and say, can we believe that corruption like this happens in America, or is it something that only happens in other countries? I think it's very interesting that on Friday, we had a Missouri candidate for governor die again of an apparent suicide. This is a guy who was the auditor in the state of Missouri. He was going to be running for governor. He apparently committed suicide just 13 minutes after inviting reporters to his home for an interview. Now, it doesn't really matter that the subject of the interview was he was dishing on some other people in the GOP, saying that they were coming after him as anti-Semitic remarks because he was Jewish. Maybe he was killed, maybe he wasn't. We've certainly seen a lot of suicides of people who the power structure wanted to get to. Gary Webb, for example, in Dark Alliance, where he was reporting about the drug trade between Central America under the Reagan administration, Oliver North, where they were fueling the crack cocaine epidemic. We had the DC Madam also. Both of them came on and talked to Alex and said, no, we're fighting this. We're not turning back. We're not suicidal. Alex even asked them on his show, are you suicidal? No, I'm not suicidal. We know that Aaron Swartz was not suicidal. He was a fighter. He was fighting CISPA, and he was winning. And they brought trumped up charges against him. He refused a plea bargain. He was engaged. He was engaged to be married, and he was engaged in the fight. And then he turns up suicided. And of course, then there's Michael Hastings. Michael Hastings' accident looked suspicious from the get-go, with the engine being ejected down the road after his car collided head-on into a tree. The way it burned, the way it exploded. And then we learned after that he was concerned that someone was going to rig his car. Someone was going to put a bomb on his car. We learned that he had texted his colleagues that he was investigating something that was very sensitive. He had to disappear. He was afraid for his life. But we can't believe in America that something like we just saw happen in Russia can happen here. It always has to be one crazy individual. We can't believe that there are people in our government that are criminal murderers and assassins. We can only believe that about Russia.